Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Catherine.Kelly, and I am here to talk a little bit about is your soul sick? Are you suffering from soul sickness? And I had this conversation with a client yesterday, and I tend to have various conversations to this effect. But people tell me about situations that are making them sick, or they're getting sick, or they're pairing this idea that they are going to get sick when they're in certain situations. And so they create a lot of fear, and there's a lot of angst and a lot of discomfort. And I asked her yesterday, this client, I said, do you feel like you're suffering from soul sickness rather than physical sickness? And she kind of she wasn't sure how to answer that. She is a spiritual person by nature. But I described it to her and helped her understand that a lot of what we experience goes much deeper than the physical level. In fact, I would say the vast majority of what we experience goes much deeper than the physical level. You know, we cannot separate the mind from the body. And this particular person is very sensitive to scents and toxins and different kinds of things in the environment. And yet, she also had a lot of trauma growing up. She had a lot of trauma that was paired with some of those sensations and those scents and those exposures. And so we've been having these conversations about, is it really a physical sickness? Now, the symptoms are very physical. So I'm not denying at all that people are experiencing physical symptoms. But because she's had some very serious, deep soul wounding from her experiences, I helped her understand that maybe she is reacting from those deep soul wounds rather than from the actual exposures. Now, of course, again, I am not denying at all that there are sensitivities out there, but I'm trying to help her get to the bottom of what's really happening. And, you know, in my book, Soul Health, I talk a lot about symptoms of the soul and how our physical symptoms and our emotional symptoms are often cues from our soul that something needs healing or something is misaligned. And I know that for myself. When I start to get migraines and I start to get the little lovely aura that comes with migraines, I know it's my body's, my soul's, and the universe's way of saying, whoa, 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 step back and take a look at what's going on, because I have identified, luckily for myself, what kinds of stress it tends to stimulate migraines for me. So migraines are my kind of Achilles heel. They're the symptoms that get to me and help get my attention. So when I was talking to her about, do you feel like you have soul sickness yesterday, when I was having this conversation, she started to put two and two together, that a lot of the reaction she has to whether it's a paint smell or a gas smell or a chemical smell or something else, really does bring up all of the same fear in her that she had when she was experiencing the trauma. And so we're starting to separate out this whole idea of how our bodies and souls connect, and also how our bodies try many, many times to get our attention so that we can do some deeper healing. Now, the human condition is really tricky, and I'm the first one to say that it's complicated and it's hard to sort out. I'm figuring out, I continue to figure out my own human condition. But I think the thing that we also have to remember is that our soul is an integral and constant part of our experience. That deepest part of us, that sense of self, that essence of who we are, is always present, whether we know it or not. It's just that in our human minds, we don't think of it that way. We think that we're having something bad happen to us in our human existence, our human experience. But we don't realize that it's our soul's way of trying to get our attention. So part of the reason that I'm bringing this up today is that I want to challenge all of you to start thinking about, okay, is my stress about work? Is that really about work, or is it about something else that needs to be healed? I'm not denying that there's stress at work. Please know that. Is a physical symptom that you're having, is it really a physical symptom, or is there some other message that is there? Now, I had another client this week on Monday come in saying that her IBS was really flared up. And when we started talking, I helped her understand that part of it is because she was asserting herself for the first time with 3 different family members, and she didn't know what to do with that. And so her sense of self was very challenged. Her sense of self was being very, it was stretching. It was a very different experience for her. So again, sense of self is all about solar plexus area. Solar plexus is right in the gut of our body, which means that it's right in the intestinal area. So a lot of times people who have intestinal issues have sense of self issues, which are sense of soul issues. So I started to connect those dots for her as well, that her soul was speaking to really keep going forward, but because her sense of self is so challenged, because she doesn't have good boundaries, that it's going to feel like exercising a new muscle. So I could give you thousands of examples of how this stuff plays out in a psychotherapy session, but I want to really challenge you to think about, okay, is my stress really emotional stress or psychological stress, or is it something that my soul is trying to tell me? Secondly, is a physical symptom, whether it's a sinus infection, a backache, a toe ache, whatever it might be, are those symptoms from the soul? Are those messages that your soul, that deepest sense of who you are, which you cannot separate at all from your body, from the human experience, because it is always there. Your soul is always there. You just don't always know it until you tune into it. But are those physical symptoms symptoms of the soul? Are those symptoms trying to get your attention to help you pay attention to something that you need to grow into or grow out of? Same thing with if you're just having a kind of general mood shift and you don't know why, whether it's the full moon. A lot of people were coming in saying that they were having arguments with their partners over the weekend, since we had full moon on Friday, Saturday, Friday the 13th. And so, is that really an argument, or is that a symptom of the soul? Is there something else that needs to be healed? Because we tend to, during full moon, Mercury and all this, you've probably heard me say this 1,000 times, we tend to have stuff come to the surface that needs to be healed anyway, but a lot of times we don't pay attention to it. We put it off to the side unless something makes it big enough. So pretty much every single thing in our awareness, every single thing that we get tweaked by, that we get discomforted by, in some way is a symptom of the soul. It's something that we are supposed to become aware of. And so I just want to really urge all of you to start paying attention, because it makes your life so much easier when you live through the soul versus the human condition. Because when you live through the soul, you're able to pick up on, oh, that's what I'm supposed to learn from this. And then we don't get sucked in and mired by all of the human emotion. Because that is the worst part of living in this planet, is that we get so sucked into our emotions and so sucked into whether it's anger or hurt or frustration or whatever it might be. But if we keep stepping back, looking at, okay, why does my toe hurt? Why am I getting my emotions tweaked? Why am I so stressed right now? We can step back and we can separate out that discomfort, because it is so much better to live as the soul. If you think about ancient cultures, what we know of them is that they lived much more through the soul than we do. Why do we suffer so much? Because we live through the human condition. Cannot tell you how many people come in completely overwhelmed and mired in what they're watching in the news. Now, I'm not saying that the stuff that's happening in the news is not horrendous and awful. But what I am saying is that we've got to start separating ourselves out from getting so mired in it, because then we don't live our own soul's condition. We don't learn to live, and well, we don't learn that we can live beyond it and learn from, okay, my feelings that are happening about the things that are going in the White House, what do I do with that? The things that are happening across the world, what am I supposed to learn from that? The things that are happening right here, what am I supposed to learn from that? Because, I just read earlier on Facebook that a friend of mine had a friend of hers killed in the that explosion, that gas explosion that happened up in Maine yesterday. And so we have to think about, what are we supposed to learn from all of this? And, I think a lot of it has to do with, what is self-love? How do we love others better? But, we're so stuck in this fear base. We're so stuck in the human condition. I have a couple clients who say, oh my gosh, I love that you call it the human condition, because it helps me separate out what's really going on and what I'm discomforted by. So, I want to be able to, I'm all about the soul. I'm all about, my mission in life. And I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get people being much more aware of their souls, because it is such a better way to live. But that is really, it sounds dramatic, but the soul is our salvation. The soul is what we are here to save and protect and to help survive. The human part of us is going to move on no matter what. It's just that we have to start acknowledging that soul part of us and what it is trying to do to help us and protect us and help us learn and help us grow and evolve, because that's what this thing is all about. So I would love to hear from you. It's like, what are you noticing about new cues coming up, and how can you start to notice how they really are cues. They're not something to mar you. Would love to hear about that. So please, post something if you see this and something resonates for you. The thing that's inevitable is that whenever I do these videos, I kind of get a hit on what I'm supposed to talk about, and then I get all these comments back through email or through clients or through phone calls or sometimes through the Facebook pages themselves. Facebook or other pages, other social media pages, saying, oh my gosh, that is so what's going on with me. And so I'm assuming that those of you who are watching are realizing, wow, there are really things that I need to extract myself from as far as the experience of the human condition and get into my soul condition, because it is so much easier to live when you are in the soul condition rather than this lovely, challenging human condition that we all have. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you notice. I'd love to hear what you are learning about stepping outside of those situations so that you can learn. You can post something here, contact me other ways, however you want to do that. But if you want more information, go to my website at www.Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com. Lots of really cool stuff is about to happen. As far as events. Now that the Soul Health Center is mostly together, just a few more little tweaks. And little, it's so nice to have them be little these days. There's so much more that I can do now. So lots of things coming up, and I will look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.